I'm David. I work as an engineer on the Beast team. And this is the overview of what we're going to show today. So we're going to talk about why we use GI, and then we're going to talk about our product, and then I'm going to show some samples of how you can interactively light your game. So first, the first question we got to ask is, what is GI, or Global Elimination? And that's basically when you start looking at how the lighting interacts with the geometry in the scene. So for instance here, this photo from reality, you can kind of see how the sun shines in here, but also that the light that hits this surface is actually bouncing down on the ground here, coloring it reddish, and even more visible over here. And you can also see how the sky is acting as the light source. And in order to get really realistic lighting in a game, you need to take those kind of contributions into account. So on the right side here, we actually have a picture from a game that had its lighting rendered with Beast. And as you can see a lot of similarities. You have the light shining in here, bouncing up here. You also have nice occluded skylighting down here, soft penumbra shadows from the sun. And all those things make your pictures come together in a... Oh, thank you. So this is the light bounce. And this is where you can kind of see how our image from a video game resembles this in many ways by capturing those details. As you can kind of see here, we have a nice occluded skylighting down here. We get soft shadows from the sun over here. And all those things make your screens come together and look realistic in an environment. So here are some more examples. The right image here, another very simple light setup, where the sun is shining in here, and the sky is contributing light. And you can kind of see how the lighting fades down as it bounces down this pipe. And getting this right can be really hard work and requires a lot of artist time. So why do you want to use Global Elimination? Well, it's necessary, I would say, to get really realistic lighting. And it also simplifies authoring. You can set up your lighting in terms of what color does the sky have, what's the direction of the sun, those kind of things, rather than looking at your image and say, hey, my shadow looks too dark, let's add a light source to make the shadow brighter, those kind of things. So the problem is that Global Elimination is a computationally heavy problem. It can require a lot of CPU power, and it can kill iteration times when working with this kind of solution. So the way Beast works, it's pre-computing your lighting. So it's basically storing your light data to texture and vertex colors. And why do you do this? Well, you can actually get the benefit of using Global Elimination in a video game, even though it would be too heavy to render it in the game. And you actually don't want to spend, even if you can render some kind of approximative GI in there, you don't want to spend your CPU cycles rendering lighting when you can use it for physics and AI and particles and all those things. If you can get good look without spending the CPU cycles, it's even better. So it gives you a very good runtime performance. It also gives you a very predictable runtime performance. Looking up things in textures and vertex colors is very well understood and works very well on graphics cards. So the problems, well, it can be a workflow issue. We have some solutions for that with Autodesk Beast. And so typically a light bake can take a long time. However, we have iteration tools with Beast. So the other thing is that you have to make assumptions about what your geometry looks like and what your light is, depending on what you bake. You can bake things that are agnostic of lighting, or you can bake the entire lighting, depending on what quality level and what the degrees of freedom you want in your game. So if we look at Beast, what it contains. So it's a global illumination renderer for game developers. It bakes offline lighting data for games. It generates light map atlases for you. And it has an easy-to-integrate API that can be brought into any game editing tools. We have a distribution system and iteration tools, a Maya integration that is shipped as source code, which you can use for inspiration or getting started quickly. We have an Unreal Engine 3 integration and also a Unity integration. So it can bake many kinds of lighting data. It can bake character lighting data. It can output many different light map formats, directional light maps, ambient occlusion passes, shadow masks, depending on what kind of requirements you have. We don't want to give you a specific way you have to light your game. We want you to be able to use Beast to light it in the most efficient way. It can bake to textures, vertices, and custom point clouds. So Beast also has a progressive lighting mode, and I'm going to show you a quick demo of that inside Unreal Engine. So while we're starting up Unreal here in the background, this mode allows you to move and tweak lights interactively. You can add and change geometry interactively. You can tweak your global illumination, change your light map resolution, go between texture and vertex baking. And by being able to do that, you can not only tweak the lighting, you can also make decisions around how much light map resolution do I need for this specific situation, etc. Oops. So here we are in Unreal now, and I'm going to go into the interactive lighting mode. So we first have a short export phase when we're making sure that our render has access to all the data. This can be cached, so when you're not starting from scratch, this will be very much shorter than it is now. So when we go into the Beast mode here, you can kind of see how we are progressively re-rendering the lighting as we're looking at the scene. And it also behaves very nicely together with Unreal shaders, which means that you can see everything in context with post-processing and other things. So for instance, we can go in and manipulate the directional lighting in here, and we can increase the intensity, and as you see, when I change that, you get updated light maps really quickly. And you can also mess with parameters such as the size of the light source. Oh, that was somewhat too big. In order to get softer shadows. This can give you penumbra shadows, which can give really nice results when they converge here. So the other thing that you want is indirect lighting, and in order to, this is something you can tweak both globally and on a per light source basis. So I'm going to increase the indirect bounce from the sky directional light here, and all the lighting starts updating as you change it. I'm also going to introduce a skylight here. And when I enable it, you can see how you get this bluish color in the shadows. It's more obvious when going into the lighting-only mode. So with all those features, you have a really nice workflow, but still you can get the benefits of working with a production renderer that outputs physically based lighting. So the typical integration you build if you want to use Beast is basically you have your game editor or authoring tool. It can be Maya, it can be your level editor, whatever you want. You have the Beast API, which you integrate with. And then all the difficult things, such as distribution, render farms, and everything, is actually happening behind this API. So you don't really have to care about it. You just install the rendering, the render node on your workstations and on your farm computers, and all those things will happen automatically. We also have a Maya plugin. It's shipped as source code, so it's easy to get started. If you want to play out with Beast, you get hold of Maya, you get this in there, and you can kind of see what kind of workflow benefit it gives for you. And then you can integrate it into your level editor. So I'm briefly going to show the Maya integration too here. So again, I bring in a scene from our example game Space Madness, which we have developed for the GameWare suite. And this is kind of what the scene looks like in Maya, and you can get some textures on it too. But Maya is really not meant for global illumination lighting in its viewport, and that's kind of where Beast comes in. So when we enable the Beast render, we have to make a small export again. And this is basically sampling all the Maya materials, outputting them as textures, and making it available for Beast. And now you have this interactive render here, which you can play around with different Maya properties. So for instance, if you want to change if you want to mess with objects here, you can change the scale on them. You can, again, manipulate the light direction and other light properties. So you can go between different intensities and colors. So in the mode I'm running now, I'm not actually involving light map textures at all. So this is very good when you want to set up a conceptual lighting. You basically just build something in Maya and you want to try it out. And all the properties you're working with actually maps directly to the properties you have when you're working with the light maps in the game. So we can also isolate different light components. So for instance, I can turn off part of the part of the lighting to get lower intensity in, for instance, indirect lighting or direct lighting. And you can also work on a per light source basis. And decrease the indirect bounce or direct lighting from the light source. So here, for instance, I can go down and say I only want direct light from this light source. Or another common use case is saying, okay, I want to only bake my indirect lighting. I want to run my direct light as a dynamic light in the game, and then you can pull that slider to 0 and basically see what the skylighting and indirect lighting looks like. Here you can also manipulate things such as the scale of the skylighting. And also you can see you have really nice looking skylighting where you get more sky occlusions in areas where there are a lot of geometry around it. So when you're happy with your setup, I'm going to make a minor change before I can say I'm happy with this one. And that would be to enable the direct lighting again. You can go into this mode where you're actually working on the light map level. So again, we need a short export time. You can see it's much faster now because we have cached all the previous export. And now we're actually working in a mode where we're working on the directly on the light maps. So you can see any kind of problems or situations that are related to light map resolution. So for instance here, if you're not happy with the resolution on a certain piece of geometry, you can go in and manipulate those kind of things. You can also work with soft shadows and see how your settings look with the current resolution in your light maps. Oops. And having this kind of interactive workflow makes it really easy to tweak those parameters. You know, what looks good with my current light map settings? What looks good with the way I've set up my objects, whether I'm working with vertex baking or texture baking. And you know, when you're happy, you're ready to bake, and you will get something that is more or less identical to what you have in here. So I guess that's it for me. If you have any questions, I will be around here, and you know, you can feel free to ask me. If you want a personal demo, we have demo stations around the corner, which you can come up and ask questions. My friend Anders will be very helpful if you happen to show up there. So thanks for watching.